Today, on July 24, 2025, the unthinkable happened. Hulk Hogan wasn't just a wrestler, he was an era. When the news broke this morning that he had passed away at the age of 71, after a lifetime of extraordinary highs and incredible challenges, it felt as if the world paused to reflect on what he meant to so many of us. Because whether you were a diehard fan, a casual viewer, or someone who just grew up with his face on lunchboxes and action figures, Hulk Hogan was a presence in your life. Born Terry Gene Bollea in Augusta, Georgia, his beginnings were anything but glamorous. As a boy, he was often the tallest kid in the room, but he also struggled with insecurity and a longing to belong. He found comfort in music, learning to play the bass guitar and performing in small Florida bars long before wrestling came into the picture. But it was when he first stepped into the gym, and later into the wrestling ring, that he found his true calling. Terry's transformation into Hulk Hogan is one of those stories that could only happen in America, a testament to dreams, hard work, and a bit of destiny. By the early 1980s, wrestling was changing, but it needed a hero. Vince McMahon saw something special in Hogan, a charisma, a showmanship, and a natural connection to the crowd. When Hulk Hogan entered Madison Square Garden, the roof nearly came off. He wasn't just another wrestler, he was a force of nature. He defeated the Iron Sheik to become WWF champion in 1984, and with that, Hulkamania was born. Suddenly, professional wrestling was on network TV, in cartoons, and in the movies. WrestleMania became the Super Bowl of sports entertainment, and Hogan was always at its center, main eventing 8 of the first 9 events, drawing record crowds and making headlines around the world. But Hulkamania wasn't just about winning titles. It was about hope. It was about cheering for the good guy, about standing up to the bullies, about never giving up no matter how impossible the odds seemed. Hogan's promos, those legendary interviews, filled with energy and catchphrases, weren't just entertainment. For millions of kids, they were words to live by. Train, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, believe in yourself, and all things are possible. How many young people found confidence, even if just for a moment, because Hogan told them to believe? His matches became the stuff of legend. There was the epic showdown with Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3, a match still talked about nearly 40 years later. 93,000 people in the Pontiac Silverdome, and millions more watching at home, saw Hogan do the impossible, body slam Andre, a moment that seemed to defy physics. There was the unforgettable rivalry with Macho Man Randy Savage, the formation of the Mega Powers, and their explosive breakup. There were the battles with the Ultimate Warrior, Sergeant Slaughter, Ric Flair, and so many more. Hogan wasn't just part of the main event, he was the reason people bought the ticket, turned on the TV, and dreamed of stepping into the ring themselves. And yet, his influence extended far beyond wrestling. He was a pop culture phenomenon, starring in movies like Suburban Commando, No Holds Barred, and Mr. Nanny, and lending his voice and likeness to Saturday morning cartoons. He hosted Saturday Night Live, appeared in music videos, and even had his own reality show, Hogan Knows Best. Even those who never watched wrestling could recognize him, the bandana, the yellow and red, the handlebar mustache, and the booming voice calling everyone brother. He turned himself into a brand, a symbol, an icon. But behind the spotlight, Hulk Hogan was also Terry, a father, a husband, a man with triumphs and struggles like anyone else. His life was not without pain. Years in the ring took a physical toll, leading to countless surgeries on his back, knees, and hips. There were public controversies and personal challenges that sometimes overshadowed his achievements. There were moments when he was forced to step back, to reflect, to own his mistakes, and to work to be better. He lost friends along the way, faced betrayals, and had to rebuild his life more than once. But if there's one thing that defined him, both in the ring and outside it, it was resilience. In 1996, Hogan shocked the world again by turning heel and joining Scott Hall and Kevin Nash to form the New World Order in WCW. The move was unprecedented, the ultimate good guy became wrestling's most notorious bad guy. Fans booed, some even threw garbage into the ring, but they couldn't look away. It was one of the most brilliant reinventions in wrestling history, and it changed the business forever. The Monday Night Wars between WWE and WCW became legendary, and once again, Hogan was at the center of it all. As the years rolled on, Hogan's appearances became less frequent, but they always drew a crowd. He would show up at WrestleMania, stand in front of thousands, and instantly the energy in the building would change. Even as he grew older and battled health issues, fans never stopped chanting his name. Children brought by their parents, people who had grown up and had kids of their own, everyone wanted to see the Hulkster at least once. Today, the outpouring of love and grief is a testament to the man and the myth. Wrestlers from every generation have paid tribute, sharing stories of how Hogan helped them, inspired them, or just made them feel welcome. John Cena called him his hero. The Rock has said there would be no People's Champion without the example Hogan set. Even rivals like Ric Flair have spoken of their respect, calling Hogan the biggest name in wrestling history. Fans too are remembering the small moments, the time he signed an autograph, stopped for a photo, or just gave a word of encouragement. Social media is full of stories about how, for all his fame, Hogan never forgot where he came from and always made time for his fans. People are posting old photos, sharing their collections of action figures, t-shirts, and posters. Parents are telling their kids what it was like to watch Hulkamania as it happened, to believe, if only for a little while, that good would always triumph over evil. But Hogan's legacy isn't just about the past. His influence can be seen in every wrestler who puts on brightly colored gear, who fires up the crowd with larger-than-life energy, who reminds the world that wrestling is more than just competition, it's about story, connection, and hope. Even today, when a young wrestler talks about overcoming the odds, or when a fan stands up for themselves because they learned to be brave from Hulk Hogan, his spirit lives on. No one is perfect, and Hogan himself was the first to admit that he made mistakes. But he taught us something more important than how to win a wrestling match. He showed us the value of standing up after you've been knocked down, of facing life with courage, and of never, ever giving up. His journey reminds us that we are all human, all fighting our own battles, and that even our heroes can fall, but they can also rise again. As we remember Hulk Hogan, let's hold on to the lessons he gave us, to dream big, to fight for what we believe in, to be kind to each other, to lift each other up, and to never stop believing that we can make a difference. The world feels a little less bright today, but the light of Hulkamania will never fade. Every time a child puts on a bandana, every time someone says brother with a smile, every time a crowd roars for the underdog, we'll remember. Thank you, Hulk Hogan, for the memories, the inspiration, and the hope. Rest in peace, champ. Your legacy will live forever, and Hulkamania, just like you always said, will never die.